I'm at one of Canada's grocery stores, and Americans lean in a little. You see these? These are new. They're everywhere now. Oh, and by the way, you notice something else about them? Do you see something else about them? Maybe I'll back up. Would this help if I back up? All the Canadian products are at eye level now. That didn't used to be. You want to know where the American products are? They're down here at the bottom. You want to know why they're at the bottom? Because they're not selling. You know why they're not selling? Because we're not buying them. This is happening everywhere.
I originally had one of these in my cart, but it's a part of the U.S.A. So I came back, and look what's on sale. And it's grown in Canada. Into the cart you go. And we got some bananas from Costa Rica, and delicious strawberries from Mexico. And we love you, Mexico and Costa Rica. And still, fuck you, Trump.
You may find this hard to believe, but those Canadians uploaded those TikToks and they didn't even post follow-ups saying that they're sorry, which goes to show you how mad they are. And you know that you messed up when you piss off Canadians, some of the nicest people on the planet, but that's exactly what Donald Trump has done. And as you can see by this morning consult poll, the opinion of the United States among Canadians has soured a lot since the election, and it's getting even worse as Trump continues to antagonize them for absolutely no reason whatsoever. And as my Canadian leftist mafia co-host David Dole points out, speaking from experience, this is completely accurate. Regardless of people's politics, unless you're a real Maple MAGA freak, Canadians have become more positive about Canada and more negative towards the United States. And what Trump doesn't realize is that this could have actual severe consequences, economically speaking, since the movement to boycott American products in Canada is only growing.
With the looming threat of U.S. tariffs, Canadians are being encouraged and feeling empowered to shop local and purchase Canadian-made goods.
Obviously, we want always to support Canadian products, and this just adds to the importance to it and the urgency.
Yeah, I'm definitely supporting Canada, not going to Costco, no Amazon.
I think it's a good thing that now we're looking more towards supporting our local economy, supporting things that are made here.
We have definitely noticed in this past week, even Canadians putting their money where their mouth is.
Brown's clothing company, Province of Canada, which prides itself on being one of the only brands in the world that manufactures every one of its products in Canada, has seen a surge in support.
And that business owner went on to say that their hope is that this boycott is going to lead to Canadian-made products becoming more prominent over time and American-made products becoming less prominent over time, which is very bad news for American companies that sell their products in Canada. But Canadians aren't just boycotting American products, they're also choosing to just not come to America anymore, because that's how angry they are. Margarita Marullo of The Travel writes, the U.S. Travel Association has warned that the U.S. government's move to impose steep tariffs against neighboring countries will lead to an economic tourism disaster for the United States after thousands of Canadian travelers canceled their trips immediately following the president's announcement. And the U.S. Travel Association isn't wrong here. In fact, Forbes estimates that a Canadian travel boycott could cost the U.S. billions of dollars, and they report even a 10% reduction in Canadian inbound travel could translate to 2 million fewer visits, which would mean $2.1 billion in lost spending and 140,000 jobs jeopardized in the hospitality and related sectors, according to U.S.A. projections. And this would predominantly affect people in states like California, Texas, and Florida, where Canadians tend to visit often during the winter to escape the cold. But CBC talked to one woman who's been coming to Florida for around 8 years over the winters, and just listen to what she's saying now.
We won't come back. We will not be back.
Really? It's gotten to that point? Because I'm looking at your pictures and you look like you're loving it down there in the sunshine. Look at that. You're on the golf course.
Well, yeah, but let me tell you something. The people here have said, well, where are you Canadians going to go? You got to come to Florida for the sun.
We'll figure it out.
And they really think this is the only place to come for sun.
We'll
There's an arrogance here that I've never seen before.
And who could blame her? That arrogance right there from Trump supporters is something that we've all experienced as Americans. So many of us think that the world revolves around this country, and there's just no getting through to people that think that way. You're better off having a conversation with a brick fucking wall, because you will never get anywhere with a Trump supporter. It's Dunning-Kruger in action. And in another portion of that interview, the lady commented on the sheer stupidity of Trump supporters, and this isn't really related, but I just had to play it because I feel like she is speaking to what we're all seeing here.
They believe everything Trump says.
Yeah.
There's no reasoning with them. They're not listening to any facts. They don't have facts. They're just mimicking what Trump is saying.
Yeah. And I don't think it's a stretch to say that that sentiment is shared around the world. When people come to America, they realize how rude we are, how stupid many of us are. And when we travel abroad, well, you know, if you're one of the good Americans, you tell them that they're Canadian, so that way they don't automatically think you're a shitty, dumb person. That's something that I think Americans are only recently coming to terms with, the fact that the perception that we have around the globe is very, very negative, and we are doing nothing to change it. In fact, we're trying to make it worse because we just don't care and have no self-awareness collectively. But putting that aside, I genuinely feel bad for Canadians. I mean, I get that they have free healthcare and we don't, but still I feel bad for them because of the chaos that we're causing in their country. They have their own Maple MAGA movement because of Donald Trump. A lot of our conspiracy theories, including QAnon, have seeped into Canadian culture, and now they apparently have to be worried about being invaded by a power-hungry fascist that we all elected, and they had no say in that decision. Nonetheless, they still have to deal with it. They have to deal with the bullshit of their neighbors, so I feel so bad for them. Now, I don't necessarily think Trump would invade Canada. At least I hope he's not crazy enough to do that. But still, Canadians are treating it as if it's a legitimate threat because they can't afford not to. In fact, the Canadian Prime Minister was caught on hot mic telling business leaders that the threat is very much real in his opinion, saying, "I suggest that not only does the Trump administration know how many critical minerals we have, but that may even be why they keep talking about absorbing us and making us the 51st state. They're very aware of our resources, of what we have, and they very much want to be able to benefit from those. But Mr. Trump has it in mind that one of the easiest ways of doing that is absorbing our country, and it is a real thing." And when you have the Canadian Prime Minister saying that, it's really, really sad, right? And there's a lot of theories as to why Donald Trump wants Canada. Some people are assuming that he's just epically trolling. Great job, sir. Others are speculating about whether or not he thinks that he's playing 4D chess with respect to trade. Who knows? Regardless, if a president sees that he is destroying a relationship with our neighbor and he's pissing off that entire country, you would think that he'd try to walk it back if he cared at all about Canada or our relationship with them or American businesses. But instead, he chose to double down during his pre-Super Bowl interview. So in front of millions and millions and millions of people, he said it again because, of course.
The Prime Minister said this weekend to a group of Canadian businessmen, he was at a private meeting, he said that your wish for Canada to be the 51st state is a, quote, real thing. Is it a real thing?
Yeah, it is. I think Canada would be much better off being a 51st state because we lose $200 billion a year with Canada, and I'm not going to let that happen. It's too much. Why are we paying $200 billion a year, essentially in subsidy to Canada? Now, if they're a 51st state, I don't mind doing it.
He is genuinely fucking insane. And the fact that he got a single vote, let alone 77 million, speaks to our collective idiocy as a country. And after seeing him say again and again and again that he wants to annex Canada, I mean, is anyone surprised to see their hatred for us grow? I mean, imagine for a second if the shoe was on the other foot and Canada was threatening to annex America and make it the 11th province. How would you feel? Okay, maybe that's not the best example because Americans' interest in moving abroad has surged after the election. Although, to be fair, that does tend to happen after every election. I do remember after Biden winning, there were conservatives saying that they were going to move to Canada, which is an interesting choice because even though Canada has their own problems, it's a much more progressive country by and large than America. But when it comes to Canada in particular, I asked my followers on Twitter and Blue Sky how they would hypothetically vote if a state held a referendum to join Canada. And as you can kind of see here, the overwhelming majority of the people enthusiastically said that they would vote yes, specifically because of Canada's healthcare system. Now, obviously, this isn't scientific, nor is it representative of the general population. I feel like that goes without saying, but still, their responses are pretty interesting in my opinion, nonetheless. And I'll link to the threads to those down below if you want to read more responses. But the point is that Canada is an objectively better country than the United States by almost every metric. And Trump's shenanigans are only strengthening Canada's national identity. So on behalf of America, if you're a Canadian viewer, I sincerely apologize. Genuinely, I'm so sorry. We had to get you back, for Drake and Justin Bieber and Steven Crowder. But I acknowledge this is in no way a proportional response. We went too far. So I hope that we can still be friends. And mostly I hope that you're going to welcome at least some of us as refugees one day in the event we're forced to apply for asylum. Not all of us are dipshits. Most of us are, but not all of us. So please understand that even though we elected this guy, a lot of us did not want this to happen. And we apologize to anyone that we hurt by being such complete fucking idiots. By the way, I was lying. Of course he apologized immediately because they are the sweetest people ever and we hurt them and we should feel bad about that.
This is happening everywhere. Sorry.
Do yourself a favor and click the join button on YouTube to become a member. Because Mike's doing a great job getting to watch his videos before everyone else is tremendous. Many people are saying this. Join today, folks. You won't regret it.